It's another great Prime edition on My Media Prime TV. Tonight we're going to be looking at issues touching on the lives of women, especially African women, in the wake of globalization. Where has the African woman positioned herself? Are they keeping on to their true African nature, or embracing the Western culture and then caught in a civilization where they cannot really identify who they are? We also are going to be looking at relationships that are increasingly being seen from different parameters as transactional. Are people going into relationships today to extract money from either the man or the woman? And at the end of the program, towards the end of the program, we're going to be looking at the impacts of influencers on the African girl. Today we're going to be privileged to be talking with an influencer par excellence, one of the best in Cameroon, who is going to be telling us what persons like herself are doing to impact on the young Cameroonian or African girl. We are discussing this evening with Dr. Apostle Lambe Valentine Ngoa, who recently declared that he wants to run for the top job in Cameroon. Good evening, Dr. Apostle. We're glad to have you.
Good evening, Salio. Good evening, Cameroonians, and good evening, Delhi singer, our pride.
Okay, you already introduced her. Delhi Singer is also going to be a part of tonight's edition of Prime R. She is one of Cameroon's biggest influencers, living in Europe, the UK to be precise, but she is also an author of 2 books. She's also involved in a lot of charitable works out here in Cameroon. Good evening, Delhi. We're glad to have you.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. Good evening, our president-to-be, president in the making. And good evening to every other person listening to us. Good evening, Cameroon. Mr. Leo, I think this is a setup for me. When you have to put me alongside our favorite candidate for the presidential, I don't know if you want to set me up or you just want to stress me today. But again, it's an honor to be here, and I'm looking forward to us having a very intellectual exchange. Yeah.
Okay, it is not a setup. It is a spiritual gathering. I don't know. It's divinely programmed for you both to be on tonight's panel. I will start with you. They say ladies before gentlemen. What is your perspective of the place of the African woman in this whole concept of globalization or the global village? Where do you situate them?
Let me say, I'm a bit taken aback because I was not expected to start with that question.
Yeah.
Let me say this. I think that categorically speaking, the African woman has for a while now lost their identity. And we are a bit confused. I say we because it's all of us. We're a bit confused on what it is or who we are, and we're just all over the place. I always say that modernization is not necessarily westernization, or westernization is not necessarily modernization. Why? Because I think for a while the African woman gets to see themselves as less, and that's why we have become every other thing but what we're meant to be. Like I said, I think it's loss of identity that is a common denominator with the average African woman. And it's a lot of factors that I think I would love for us to be talking on. And I hope that a lot of African women listening to us tonight would have a change of perspective, a change of mindset, a change of how they see themselves. So yeah, let me start off with that, and then we'll take it gradually. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, Dr. Apostle, do you also see the African woman as being caught in the web of this globalization, like she is advancing?
You know, before I present my opinion on this subject, I admire Delhi Singer so much because she's very blunt. And as a woman, her position in this debate is somebody who is very rational, and she's not taking side, even though she falls within that gender. That's a potential minister in my forthcoming government. Anyway, back to your question, Mr. Liu. The African woman is actually caught in a web.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, the values of the African culture, the values of the African society are gradually diminishing. Every single day, we see people who are being transformed into something else, even though they are in the continent Africa. As a matter of fact, we have more Europeanized Africans living in Africa. People are being Europeanized in a way that you see a Cameroonian who has never been to Europe struggles to talk like a European, struggles to dress like a European, even develops the accent of a European. You see African journalists who are young girls, their accent, they want to speak like Christina Amampo, who is from America. I mean, it's so bad to the extent that even the accent that we have as Africans that identify us in particular locations when we go to places is gradually diminishing. You may find it difficult to identify an African in Europe because the accent is totally different except their color. People have embraced a strange culture, embraced a foreign culture more than what they were groomed into. Somebody can spend 30 years in Africa and spends 2 years in Europe. You'll be amazed if at all he spent 30 years in Europe and 2 years in Africa, because the 2 years I've spent in Europe has engulfed them that you cannot even find any form of Africanness in quotes in them. And so I'm wondering why 30 years of stay in Africa suddenly disappears. Is it that we hate ourselves, we have denied our own values, or we don't have respect for what we're groomed into? How can 2 years stay in Europe, America, swallow up 30 years stay in Africa? I'm sure that the 30 years stay in Africa should be more in you than the 2 years stay in Europe. I think these things are born out of inferiority complex. It has to do with educational upbringing. There's an impression given to us that when you come from Europe, you are better than somebody from Africa. When you come from America, you are better than someone from Africa. The prestige is still there till date. That's why when somebody flies from Europe into Africa or America, we esteem them so high. And this is the reason why our values and our cultures, our identities are gradually disappearing every single day. Some things in Africa have stood the test of time because they have not been able to be denied in the world market. For instance, some African regalia like the Togo has won the image, the respect of the international community. That's the reason why we identify with it. But certain communities, certain cultures, certain attitudes that are embedded in our culture and tradition, we don't even find them, because when people cross this Mediterranean Sea or the Atlantic Ocean to another continent, all the African values in them disappear.
Okay, then let me come back to you. You've just listened to Dr. Apostle Ambe, who is worried about how the force of attraction or the capacity of Western culture to absorb who we are as Africans. Is it ignorance or the fact that we do not know how to stand our ground and be proud of who we are?
It is gross ignorance, I would
Okay.
say.
Okay.
Gross ignorance, yes, on the part of Africans in general and the women in particular. So this cankerworm affects every African to a considerable extent. However, the women are it's most prevalent with the women. Why? Because we are the more emotional ones. They say we're moved by the things we see in the media. We copy. We just get to copy and we keep copying. I like to think that the wake of social media has sadly done more harm to especially the African women than good. And so what's happening is we see a lot of packaged lifestyles out there. I'm sorry, there's an echo coming, so it's kind of disturbing my communication.
Just go on.
I don't know if I should be muted. Can I be muted, please, on my end, so I don't get to hear myself, please?
Okay.
Technical crew, can you hear me?
Yes, just go on.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that is a lot of young girls who who tend to model their lives after what they see on TV or in the media, and sadly, the media has come to help us, but again, it is rather doing us a disservice for the most part. We see a lot of African women nowadays who want to look every other thing but Africans. And sadly, that standard has been set to the point where if you do not look like what you see in the magazines, on TV, on social media, you feel less of yourself as a woman. So the average woman listening to me right now would attest to the fact that they don't feel happy or confident enough if they do not wear, for instance, human hair, what they call human hair now. And why is that? Because according to African standards and society standards and expectations, that is what gives value to a woman. So you see a girl would leave school, they have their low cut or we do our braids, whatever it is we're doing as African girls. And when you start making money or when you get out of school, suddenly you think to up my game, I need to get that kind of hair. You see what I mean? Dr. Ambe just talked about even our style of dressing. Um, the African woman is known to be well clad. I mean, we used to know that we are well clad, well covered because that's part of our culture. And if there's need for exposure, then it is very intentional and purposeful. But right now, even the regalias that we do, you'll be amazed to see that it has been transformed from the usual style that you and I understand and to something that is, again, increasingly becoming westernized. Why? Because there's that inferiority complex in the African woman that thinks if I dress or adorn myself in the African style, I'm old fashioned. If I adorn myself like I'm meant to adorn myself because I'm coming from a place with values, I'm not seen as stylish, I'm not seen as classy. And so we've become this, I always use this word, a zombie version of ourselves. Every other thing is appealing to our senses, but what we have as Africans. And if you go down even into marriage and relationships, you realize that we are running every other thing based on what the Western world is projecting, continuously projecting. It is only the African woman who wants to look like a Chinese woman, who wants to look like an American woman, who wants to look like a British woman, who wants to look like every other thing but African. You will never see a Chinese woman wanting to look like an African woman. Why? They don't struggle to dress like us, to speak like us, to act like us. No, because they are confident in their identity. They are confident in their skin. They don't struggle to tan themselves to be black, to look like us. Why? Because they love the complexion in which God made them. But no, African women are the ones who want to transform ourselves. We want to be every other thing but Africa. And I love that we're having this conversation today, just so that, again, there's a remnant. I'm not saying every other woman is doing that. There's a remnant that is salvageable, if that's the right word to use. Yeah. So I'm hoping they're listening and they're taking down notes and for the right purpose.
Now, Deli, you live out there in the UK. You once mentioned that in the UK you have Asians who are there who would not want to be absorbed by the UK or European lifestyle, amongst others. I don't know whether we have many Latin Americans out there in the UK who also mingle with you. But what actually explains this fact that almost everybody would want to remain natural, use the God-given nature to them, impose themselves to be unique, but we are struggling. We want to embrace a nature that is not us. Are you actually better treated in the UK because you look more civilized, because you speak better English, because you dress like them?
I love that because, like I said earlier, London, where I live, is a very cosmopolitan city. Mm-hmm. And so you get a variety of every race. Everybody is represented. But again, when you meet a Chinese woman, you can immediately tell this is a Chinese woman or an Asian woman. And if you meet a Caucasian, all of these different races, you would immediately tell. There's no gainsay. It is why they have a sense of cultural identity. They believe in it. Their parents taught them to have confidence in that. They're not second guessing themselves. They're not diluting it. Even when they've left China, for instance, Asia, to come to this part of the world, it is still, they carry the identity with them. They are taught at a very early stage that they are number one. I don't care what America is doing. We are the best. That's what they are taught. That's why they are confident wherever they go. They don't need to change to be any other person. I say that we left the era of the colonial era, which was the obvious one. Then now we have the neo-colonialism, and then it's happening with us blacks. We don't see that we're still in bondage. They've left the area of chains in our hands, and now we have been mentally enslaved with our thought pattern, with the things they've taught us, the things they've made us to believe. And sadly, it's affecting really just the Africans. Like I said, the mental slavery is real. It is real because it stems from the mind. What you think about yourself, how you see yourself, who you know yourself to be. And so when you're faced with other races, you think, you know what, the white man is superior because they have this complexion. And so, you know what, let me just tone a bit and let me just bleach to be like the white man so I feel more accepted. And the white man is aware that this is the only way we can recolonize the black race. So we are going to keep the chains aside, keep the guns aside, but then we are going to walk in their minds and transform their minds in the negative in such a way they will not believe in themselves again, and they would embrace every other thing but what they truly have. And yeah, this is the reason. But that mindset is not bought by every other race, sadly. It is only the African woman. So, but again, they know when you ask the question of do we feel accepted, the white man knows that you are photocopy. The white man knows you cannot be more white than the white. I can't speak English better than the white man. That's his vernacular, if I can put it like that. That's his country talk, what we normally call, we locally call country talk. You cannot be more white than a white. You see what I mean? And I'm saying every other race has been taken, but Africans want to, every other race has been taken. Your race has been taken by you, but we are sadly discarding that, to belong to a world that will never accept us for being a photocopied version of ourselves. Yeah.
Okay. Globalization actually has lots and lots of benefits, Dr. Apostle Ambe, because when we talk of globalization, we talk of power dynamics. Yes, power dynamics, who can pull who into a place. Do we, as African ladies, think that we need to stand our grounds, we need to stay unique, and also see how we can pull others to admire, adopt who we are?
Yes.
Because it is a strength, a sellable strength.
It begins with you valuing yourself. Mm-hmm. Nobody can value more than the way you value yourself. The loss of self-esteem is a loss of identity. Loss of self-esteem is a loss of identity. Once you lost your self-esteem, you've lost your identity. And I think that is what is wrong with Africans. Africans have lost their self-esteem. This is because it stems back from their orientation in education. The educational system is structured in such a way that Europe happens to be heaven. Africa happens to be the dark continent. Europe happens to be where God stays. Africa happens to be where all devils on earth stays. Europe happens to be where the true religion comes from. Africa happens to be where demonic religions are hashed. Europe happens to be where technology has improved. Africa has to be the place where people are frustrated. Europe happens to be the place where prosperity is eminent. Meanwhile, Africa happens to be the place where poverty. So with this kind of structures put in place and the kind of mindset given to African children from birth, primary school, secondary school, university. Much of your studies talked about the whites who succeeded. The blacks who invented are never mentioned in your history books. The whites who invented are mentioned in your history books. When they are talking about farming, agriculture, they talk about the things that happen in Sweden. We were taught lumbering in Sweden. We were never taught lumbering in Belabu. We were taught shipbuilding in Philadelphia and in Japan. We were taught fishing in Japan. We were not taught fishing in the Buncha. So every time our mind is fixed about what happens outside there. That's the reason why almost every African is looking for a means to go to Europe. Till date, even though the colonial masters have left us, we have denied to leave them. We've refused categorically to leave them. They left us and went to Europe. We are pursuing them to Europe. This is because the orientation given to us as children made us understood that it was certain that our educational system is limited to the fact that we don't have a proper understanding of our identity. I can tell you that you can study in school in this Africa and complete without finding yourself. And I think education is to make you discover first yourself before discovering your surrounding. But an African child goes to school without discovering his or herself. This makes it very complicated. So with that, it makes them begin to think that everything is outside. But I can tell us as Africans that we have the potentials to pull everyone that is outside to come this way. Because if you look at it, I was in the UK. Me and Delhi had a program there. Delhi and I had a program there. In the UK, you will see Indians. Their regalia doesn't change. The Indians who study English language is strictly for business purposes. Among themselves, they speak the Hindi. Chinese people study English language for business purposes. Among themselves, they speak Mandarin. It is us who never studied English language for business purposes. As a matter of fact, we qualify those who are intelligent in Africa based on their accent and their accuracy in bringing out the Queen's language. Not that you are able to speak womb properly or to speak Bafut properly. That's not your pride. Your pride is the fact that you are able to punctuate, put all inverted commas open and close, to put all full stops, semicolon, columns. Then when you do that, they know you as being intelligent. Meanwhile, the Chinese who never spoke English language are creating. Now, who told them that we cannot speak Bafut or speak Ngi or speak Wum or speak Bakwere or speak Bafo or speak Bayangi and still be intelligent? I said to somebody that the proverbs in Africa were initially spoken in our dialect. It is English that translated them later. That's why those proverbs are indigenous. They will put it a Nigerian proverb, a Ugandan proverb, a Cameroonian proverb, because initially that proverb came in a language that was not English. But it's unfortunate that we have been groomed to think that if you are not speaking good English, like as I'm talking right now, there are persons who are watching this program, they are looking within the lines of my presentation where I will miss it to find out if I'm intelligent or not. Even if I create a car in Cameroon and I'm not speaking English language, I'm not intelligent. So if somebody does not dress according to the standard, it has gotten to a level where our young men now put their trousers at their waist level to identify with American hip-hop stars. That is to say, if you are not the Jay-Z type, you are not the Eminem type, you are not the Rick Ross type in Africa, you are not civilized. And they will call you a primitive person for wearing togu. They will call you a primitive person for speaking your own dialect. They will call you a primitive.
When you want to capture every single good moment. When you want to play online without stressing about the connection speed. When your people abroad need the latest gist from home. Orange is here with the best data bundles at cheap cost. Subscribe to Orange Bonus Data on #111 *12# or via the Max It app. Orange is here.
Pay your taxes and custom fees at Express Exchange. The solution is close to you. Enter an Express Exchange agency, head to the cash register with your tax notice, and make your payment of tax and custom fees with ease. Receive a confirmation receipt. So cool, Mula. Yes, Mula. From now on, I pay my taxes and custom fees at Express Exchange. It's simple. Express Exchange, partner of the Guild and the Directorate General of Taxation. Express Exchange. #1 in quality service in Cameroon.
restaurant. I mean, the girl looks at you to be big. I was in Paris. I was taken to a Chinese restaurant. I couldn't eat because everything there was just raw. They tell you to go and give your own meat. They will fry it. They will fry it in two. I did not grow eating that kind of meat. So the problem is we are not bold enough to showcase what we have in the world. I mean, I can tell you, I've traveled to Europe, I've traveled to other countries in Africa. Cameroon has delicacies that it will take some countries years and centuries to ever have those qualities of dishes. I'm telling you, I can't eat anything that is not Cameroonian. I mean, the taste is not there. That's what the problem is. How does it look like to carry a chew to an international trade fair? Catch international trade fair.
Okay, let me put this question over to you, Deli Singer. You have you follow the Cameroonian and African woman across the board, from the cultural, political, economic. What are we selling on the global stage as African women?
Not every one of them, because I always like to do this disclaimer. Okay, before the very few who are doing awesome would say, oh, I am, downplaying the impact or, what they're saying or what they're doing. So of course, we have that disclaimer. So now I can speak on a general perspective. Okay, so what is the African woman selling? We are literally selling a photocopy version of every other race but Africa. And I need to look at especially, we are coming to influencers, but then let's look at the key leaders as far as women are concerned. Look at them in churches, out of churches, in huge organizations. I needed to look at every one of them, key leaders. How are they representing Africa when they stand on global platforms? Are their looks representative of Africa? Are they? Sorry, I'm having.
Just go on.
Sorry, guys.
Go on.
Right. When we look at those who are key decision makers, what is it they're selling out there as far as our culture is concerned? Because again, like I said, we've lost our sense of cultural identity, and it revolves around that. So what are they selling? What are they selling? If you look at the language, there is no. I'm not saying no. There very few are even looking for platforms or portals or avenues to communicate in our local African parlances. You see what I mean? It is always African, it's always English. And again, it starts from home. Why? Because that's what we've been taught. We have in Cameroon 2 national languages. There is no official language in any of the more than 300 ethnic groups we have in Cameroon. Think about it. There's no language that we have officially said, this is what we are selling out there to the world. It must not be from Guy, where I come from. Maybe in So, maybe Douala. These are very beautiful languages that could be put out there. Now, on a global stage, what are we doing? We're literally, like I said, giving a substandard version of what they already have. I cannot speak English, again, I keep insisting, than a British or an American person. Now, you think about it. They don't struggle to do this. Now, how we clad ourselves. Look at, again, opinion leaders. So when we go and stand out there, we are looking for the best Mongolian hair. I don't even know where is Mongolia. I don't know if that's a country or so, but believe me, maybe that I'm being ignorant about that. We're looking for the best Indian hair. For the most part, you stand on a stage and what you are representing is nothing about Africa. Look at our pageant, our beauty pageants. I've had an opportunity to be managing director of Miss Cameroon UK. And one of the things where I had to put in my resignation letter that this is the first time I'm talking about it publicly is because I realized it was nothing about Cameroon. It was everything about British. And I'm like, if I need a British woman, I know where to get them. I'm not going to be getting substandard versions of, a photocopy, for lack of a better word. Now understand, you take a beauty pageant which is meant to sell your culture. From the hair, you have every other hair but the African hair. And if a contestant is there with their natural hair, guess what? They're looked as primitive. Now you think about that. Their outfits, they would give priority to at least 3 foreign outfits. But then, there's just one, there's a place for cultural outfit. And for the most part, it is how you would choose to design it. You see, we don't put strict laws like that. If we're having international pageants and our women are going to represent and we don't see anything about Cameroon or Africa, it is very telling of how much mental slavery we're still in, mental bondage we're still in. So what is the African woman selling? A substandard version of the West. And of course, it's not selling because they have the original. I can't have the original and I'm going for the photocopy. I will not say that without coming back to home and our system, because it's the system that is working and we found ourselves into it. And then it's been compounded by social media, of course. So again, I talked about our languages. None of our languages are being prioritized out there. Now, even when some of us who understand the dialect vernacular, we travel out, you meet a fellow Cameroonian. Guess what? I'm meeting Ngi, somebody from Ngi. We pride ourselves in trying to be more articulate in English. It is not a bad thing in itself because, again, that's a universal language. But you think about it, if I'm with you and we are that close to home, the only thing that identifies us is our culture, our language. How about we speak in Ngi and say we express ourselves? Why? We don't either know or we pretend not to know just so that we are not looked upon as inferior. Now you think about that. Look at our names. It is not now we call them traditional names and then there's the English names. Now African women especially would have 2 English names and they pride themselves. It's La Belle Princess on social media. Every other thing but very new. But Winka, you see what I mean? It's all of these that we're selling out there. And I said, even opinion leaders, sadly, you would see a very informed woman, a very conscious woman, so you think. But when they stand there, you look at every other thing is wrong. But now you cannot speak because every other person thinks, nah, you know what, we should just flow with the system. We should just go with the narrative. It is the West that is selling. You know, you all of these things. These are the things that they give all the excuses as to why we have to be recolonized, why we have to stay in bondage. If you listen to them now, they're looking for things to fault this conversation. Oh, trust me, I know when we get into the comment section, you would see all manner of excuses as to why we should stay colonized in our mindsets than to start looking back and start retracing our steps and asking ourselves, where did we miss it?
Now,
who are those who are making decisions for the young woman? Who are they? What is the agenda? What are they proposing? What is it that we are insisting upon? I'm sorry, there's a glitch, so I'm barely getting you.
So what I get from you is that the African woman is at the consuming edge of the global exchange as far as women are concerned in the world today. We are simply consuming what is produced in the other parts of the world.
Exactly. We're consumers. And sadly, the whites, like I said, again, I made the disclaimer just so that this conversation can have a smooth ride. But for the most part, we're consuming a set of people. Okay, so what happens is these people know there is a huge market as far as the African woman is concerned, and so we're more like the dumping ground. What they produce, they rarely use them. Oh, yes, they rarely do. They know they have a huge market in Africa, and the African woman will consume anything as far as it is coming from the West. Because they have successfully recolonized our mindsets like that,
Okay.
we are stuck. That's why I'm insisting on everybody that has a platform to start looking within themselves and start having more like a retrospect and retracing our footsteps, and just so that posterity could be salvaged. Why? Because if we opinion leaders and people who have influence out there, we are not making the change, the young woman would only want to replicate what they see some of us do. And that's why I'm shouting from the rooftop, and to whoever cares to listen, that the African culture is the richest that I know of, that I've seen. I've seen other cultures, and I can tell you firsthand that it's the richest out there. We still have the X factor as far as values are concerned. We still have it intact. If we only know that and believe what I've said, then we can make a change, and very much so, especially at the global stage, because only then would people start taking us seriously. Only then would people listen to us and listen to us again, because of course they would see a uniqueness. What the world is looking for is something that is not existing, that would make all the difference. But if you're coming with a deja vu, that's what we come with at global stages, and they're not interested. What is it about us that would make the difference? What is it about us that people will look at it and be like, hey, this is new, this is different, this is unique. I love this. I want to invest in that because it's different. I want to identify with it because it's different. You see what I mean? So yeah, I mean, let me not take all your time.
Okay. Ekona Pikin says, I'm watching from Boya. Ngala Evelyn Bongbimi says, I'm watching from Suza. Samuel Zara is watching from Kumba. H-Man Ancestor is watching from Boya. Nebambe is watching from Yaoundé. Ngor Tezok Elvis is watching from Yaoundé. He says, good evening to everybody. Zamatu Jivir is watching from Bamenda, Old Town. Dr. Apostle Ambi Valentine Angwa. We talked about, don't know whether it is you or then we talked about inferiority complex. We think that what is naturally us is not good enough to compete with what is on the global stage. Where is this complex coming from?
It has to do with development, Mr. Liu.
Okay.
You see, there are people who automatically feel inferior when they meet a particular class of people. Just like somebody who is not learned comes in the midst of educated people feels inferior.
Why don't we think that our class is as important as the other persons we admire?
It's a natural instinct. Once you are not educated, you walk in the midst of poor educated, that complex automatically falls on you. It's the same thing if you walk into the house of a rich man and you are coming from a broke home, the complex comes on you. When people look at Europe and look at Africa, they want to identify what is very, very great. Let me give you a simple example. There is this man who gave birth to a child, and then the wife now left him and got married to a richer person. And when this child was asked in between the new man and the older person who was the father, knowing very well that the father is the person who is poor, the child chose to identify with the richer person. This is because people always like to identify with what is great. I want to believe that a lot of Africans are dropping their customs and tradition is because of the level of development that the West has. And we think that if we identify with what is great, we become very great. And that is the reason why most of the things in Africa are underrated. Because Africa itself as a continent is underrated. Africa's infrastructure is low. Africa's education is low. Africa's civilization, if you want to put it, is low. Africa's technology is low. So who does not want to identify? The passion with which these people used to cross to go to Europe, the risks they take to go through the Sahara Desert, the risks they take to go through the Amazon forest, the risks they take to go through the Mediterranean Sea, tells you that they are not willing to identify with anything that has to do with Africa. So if they cross there, they will not even want to hear Africa mentioned anywhere. They will only come out because they are root and maybe they have families here. I met persons in Europe who have been there for 20 years and they told me categorically they will never come to Africa. That even if Africa is developing to become what, they will not come here again. This is because they have got an environment they think they can identify with. And that is a natural phenomenon. We cannot deny this fact. Even us as humans, when you meet particular group of persons, you can identify with them. And there are persons, if you meet, you will not be able to identify with them. Not everybody has the attitude to identify with every class of human being. So it's the same thing when Africans move to Europe. Are you not surprised that your friends who left Europe, left Africa, traveled to America, came back, they are not speaking with their nostrils, knowing that you are their friend, and they know that you know them from foundation, from everywhere they are coming from, yet they still have the boldness to speak with you with the American accent, just to let you understand that you guys are not at the same level anymore. They have changed level. So it is that development that has affected many Africans not to identify with their own culture. We say Africa practices witchcraft. There is witchcraft in Europe, but the witchcraft is operating on a developed platform. That's why I say if wickedness finds a good platform, it will be accepted as an error. I said in Africa here, the pastors who are rich, their sin is called weakness. The ones who are poor, their sin is called crime. A young man will leave a poor pastor because he said he committed sin, to go and submit to an elderly pastor who is financially buoyant, who practices more than that sin. So you realize that it is the same sin practiced on both angles, that because one is wealthier, the young man chooses to submit under that same canopy. People will leave you, and even assuming that you are committing a crime without having first-hand information, they will go and submit under somebody who has that same crime visibly in front of them, and they are this is very real, but they can only because the man has some evidence around him that can prove that at least no, we can stay here, even if not for the sin, let's stay for the money. It's what is affecting Africans. Africans have gone to Europe, they see the tar street, they see the structured buildings, they see the good salary, they see the comfortable environment, they see the cars, they see the standard of living. Okay, I think I have to identify with these people and let nobody know I'm coming from that dilapidated, outdated, forgotten continent. And that's where the problem is. And the fact that history taught us that Africa is a dark continent, nobody wants to stay in darkness.
Yeah, but the question is, you don't want to identify with where you're coming from. Are you seen by those in the US or maybe Europe as someone who is not coming from there? Are you not just running from your shadow? Because
they don't
are you readily accepted and identified as an American or a European?
They are not looking for identification. They want to relocate from where they are coming from to a comfortable environment. As a matter of fact, their stay in Europe and America has nothing to do with identification. It has to do with their comfort.
Yeah, but
yes,
we are not, the program is not only based on those guys who are out there. We have African women who are here, who would want to be seen as more civilized,
that's what
as classy, yet are still living in Cameroon. Maybe
I said it earlier, that there are persons who have not traveled to anywhere, but because they have copied through either mainstream media or on social media or on print media, they have copied certain cultures outside. They want to identify with them. The young men that walk in the streets and leave their jean trousers at their buttocks level, did they travel to America? They must have watched Jay-Z on television. So they think that the life over there is far more better. And as a matter of fact, there is this, how do I put it? There is this impression that girls can be attracted to you when you behave European-like. When you behave American-like, ladies can be attracted to you. I've seen young girls run after guys who put their trousers at the buttocks level because they are behaving like Jay-Z. I'm telling you that the thing is so deep into our very fabric that you cannot fight it. You can't fight it.
We
have to start raising the standards.
We cannot also surrender.
We keep fighting.
In Cameroon, Delhi, what is the Cameroonian woman selling in Cameroon that may attract persons from across the globe to come to Cameroon to discover this unique nature of the Cameroonian woman? We're talking about the potentials. What potentials do we have that we should be selling?
I said earlier that we have a very rich culture. What are the components of culture that we should be looking at? We have loads of things. Our food, that's our cuisine, the artifacts. We have, our dressing style. We have our language. We have our style of weddings and marriage. It's all of these different components of culture that we should be selling. What else do we want to sell? What should we be selling? Because it is that uniqueness. Because your culture is really what makes you unique, and so that is what we have potentials in to sell. I love the textile industry. I mean, now, especially now with how we play with the fabrics and all whatnot. But even when you look at how we're even doing the outfits that is good, because that's the industry that has really dominated, is prevailing as far as our culture is concerned. So we're trying as much as possible to put our regalias out there. But again, we're gradually diluting it with how we're trying to mix. It has to have a bit of the Western style on it before it really can appeal to a lot of people out there. If it is complete at Togo like that, people are beginning to drift away from that. These are different potentials we can sell. All of these things we can sell. Are we selling them? The question is not if we have them. We do. Are we selling them? No. What are we doing? We are not sure of it. We're not conscious of it. Let's take our weddings. Let me talk a bit on weddings. If you look at the weddings that we have in Cameroon, the one we call the traditional, which in my opinion is where that's actually the real deal. Because when your bride price has been paid, you are married. Okay, the other things are necessary formalities, and we're speaking English, we understand what we're talking about. These other things, they're important, they're necessary. The legal side, the church signing, or if you're from the mosque and all or not, those things are important. But the traditional bit, which is again your bride price payment, is the most important thing. How many women listening to me would be okay to just have a traditional wedding and say, I'm married, I'm happily married? You know what? There's wine, there's been wine carrying, there's been two families come together, there've been all of the exchanges and all of that. And I'm with my husband. How many? No, you must have worn a white dress and walked down the aisle with so many people, which is borrowed. Again, what are we selling? Now, this is a platform to sell ourselves. But then we project more of that. And for the most part, people don't even get to see the traditional bit. What we see on TV or what is actually projected more in the media is actually the white one. And so the white man is looking at, why are these people replicating our culture? Why are you getting married 2-3 times? Why? Because that's what we're doing, and we don't know that's what we're doing. Have I said it's not important? No, it is. I am of the school of thought that says, the white wedding is another person's tradition. Now, if you have to borrow, because of course there's no how you would be in, the world is a global village now. So you would obviously, we're robbing values. So there's no how you will not pick up these things. And I believe that if you belong to every institution, the church being an institution or an organization, you would obviously benefit from the fringe benefits of that organization. And I think weddings and wedding celebration, or church solemnization, how we call it, is part of the fringe benefits of every church institution. And so if I belong to it and that's what I should benefit from it as well, I can. But that in itself does not in any way negate the traditional bit, which is the marriage proper. Now, these are the things we should sell. How marriages are carried out in Africa, Cameroon in particular. That is what I should be selling on social media. The other one, if you care to do it, it's an option, you can do that. But then if I want to sell, I might as well explain the meaning of all of these artifacts that I use, the meaning of the blessing that the father proclaims upon the daughter or the couple. That is what the world wants to hear. Those are the things that we do documentary on. If the whites are coming to Africa, they are looking for the untapped resources, not the ones that, like I said, they have the original version of. Have you ever seen a white man being very interested in an African wedding that has to do with the veil and all of that? No. Why? Because it's a deja vu. They want to see you carry calabash and wine and say and dance to your husband. And because that's a different thing. It's strange to them. That's what we should be selling. It's enormous potential in that, and we should be selling that. Let's talk about our parenting is a thing. We still have the X factor. You think about it. I live in this part of the world, and there's such a thing as recalcitrant children. And sadly, Africans have bought into that narrative. There's a way we raise kids in Africa. And wherever you go, and I'm saying that culture and whatever would rub off us, yes, we'll pick one or two things. But if you know who you are, you will not let go of the original and try to borrow the photocopy. No, you would come as a superpower. You would come as, this is what I bring to the table. This is what you should be learning from me. If you know that Africa still has the X factor as far as marriages and parenting is concerned, you should be the one to be teaching the West because, oh, they have lost it. Oh, the children are literally the ones ordering parents here. And you would be sad and shocked to see African parents sit and take instructions from kids. They've suddenly forgotten how we were raised. And according to us, it was abuse. Our parents abused us because they disciplined us. Now you cannot. The children know their rights. You can't talk to them. They're in a white man's country. I'm saying when we travel, we would learn beautiful things, but we would in turn teach them the virtues that we come from. We're taken from Africa, but we're not doing that. That's enormous potential we have. We're not using it. It's a lot of it. I'd love for my presidential candidate to shed some light on this because I think he is more informed on this.
Unfortunately,
so yeah, thank you.
Unfortunately, we may not have time to go into all of that because we have other aspects to look at tonight. But let me take some messages. Hello, good evening. I'm Sonia from Yaoundé. Greetings to Delhi and Apostle Ambe. I want to say that many African women suffer from competition, and that is what brings us down as ladies. What we need to do is that we should learn wisely so as to teach our children not to fall into the same mistake as we did. Good evening, Mr. Leo. I'm Franklin, watching from Bamenda. Okay, this one says, what are the experiences of African women migrants in terms of economic opportunities, cultural adaptation, and social migration? Delhi, we may have to discuss on that in a different edition, please. I am Ashun Tantang Valentine. I'm watching from Limbe. Okay, this one says, really, this is watching us from Oku. She says, your program is really nice. I enjoy it. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Raphael is watching from Tico. Dr. Apostle Ambe Valentine, why we have to look at this issue of transactional relationships. Relationships today are increasingly being viewed as some form of business, something that has to do with give and take. But we are meant to understand that relationships should be led or constructed on the foundation of love. Where did we get wrong to be seeing it more as an exchange of goods and services?
Yes, Mr. Liu, recently, not in the past. In the past, relationships were genuine. People fell in love, got married on very simple terms. There were no conditions attached because I want to believe the women in those days were very ignorant.
On our continent, we know ourselves. Everyone has something they like doing with their connection. There are those who prefer downloading heavy files. Then, those who are really influencers on social media. There are those gaming champions who make the best world records from their homes. And those who will always show off their food. Not forgetting those who spend hours listening to latest Mboa hits. For all that, they choose Orange's Super 4G network. That is why we've been here for 25 years. Me and all the teams working all over the country. Nana is here. Orange is here.
Pay your taxes and custom fees at Express Exchange. The solution is close to you. Enter an Express Exchange agency, head to the cash register with your tax notice, and make your payment of tax and custom fees with ease. Receive a confirmation receipt. So cool, Mula. Yes, Mula. From now on, I pay my taxes and custom fees at Express Exchange. It's simple. Express Exchange, partner of the Guild and the Directorate General of Taxation. Express Exchange, #1 in quality service in Cameroon.
Compared to the woman who is a police. The woman who was a housewife can be compared to the woman who is a magistrate. The woman who was a housewife can be compared to the woman who is a lawyer. So this time around, before a woman steps into a relationship, she weighs herself, what she has to offer, and then weighs the person who is coming into her life, what the man has to bring. So your statements like, what are you bringing on the table, were not existing around the 70s. It is in the 2000s that we now hear about what are you bringing on the table as a man, what are you bringing on the table as a woman. This idea of bringing it on the table already makes it transactional. It makes it a business agreement because these parties are coming together in order to negotiate a deal. And also the impression that mother-in-law gives their children, some of the daughters that are sent into marriage, they are sent to go and look for help because the family must have been broke or probably broke, and then the mother is seeing marriage as a means of survival. And probably that girl is being groomed to understand that she cannot marry anybody who is poor because they are living on rentage and they cannot live in rentage forever. They intend to move into another building which is theirs, and they need a very handsome. You know, handsome is not just looking good. This time around, the world is broken into two. You have hand, and then there's something inside. So a handsome man is not somebody who looks good and has six packs again. It's not somebody who looks attractive as the Englishman describes it. Is somebody who has something in his hand. So most women see handsomeness now based on what is in your hand, and that makes it again transactional. The woman in the 21st century is being sent to go and look for help in marriage. Why? Bible says they were sent to give help in marriage. The woman was raised as a helper, but this time around, mothers raise their children to go and look for help for the entire family in marriage. So it makes it again transactional. These are some of the factors that constitute the idea why women go into relationships for transactional purposes. Some men also, because this argument is not going to be balanced if we don't strike on the other side. Some men also go into relationships based on what women have. As a matter of fact, it is a bit difficult to find a broke girl getting married in the 21st century. A broke girl may find it difficult to get married in the 21st century because all the men who are going out this time around do not only want a woman that they will spend, they want a woman that will equally spend in return. So that kind of mindset makes men begin to negotiate the kind of woman they want to get married to. That's why you see a young guy of 25 years would rather get married to a woman of 40 years as long as the woman's hand also is handsome. So women are not beautiful in the 21st century, they are also handsome. So if there's something that is in the woman's hand, it can easily attract a relationship. You see a girl of 25 years old finding difficulties to get married, while a woman of 45-year-old is getting married to a boy of 25-year-old. This is because the woman has a car, the boy can easily drive freely. The woman has a comfortable house, the boy can sleep there comfortably. And the woman also has resources where the boy can also pass through it to travel abroad. So on this, the financial situation, the standard of living, has pushed most people to go into relationships with people who will come to help them rather than those who will come to love them. So people are looking for helpers now, not lovers.
People are looking for helpers, not lovers. Delhi, we're talking about transactional relationships, but I know also a couple of times you've mentioned this concept during our previous editions of the program. Why is it prevailing today? Is it peer pressure? Is it also the influence of how you guys look out there living very, very luxurious lives? But going by your pictures, that almost every lady wants to see what they gain out of a relationship, because if you were to go through most of the status of WhatsApp status of most of these girls, they will tell you that if he has nothing to offer me, I have nothing to do in such a relationship. Where are we coming from with such mindsets?
Okay. So let me say this. I love to give context to this particular topic. I mean, why? Because If we go with the term transaction, you realize that, and as strange as this might sound, every relationship is transactional. So, like I said, I want to give context to it because I know what you are after. But if we go with the term itself, we might do injustice to the topic.
Okay.
So again, if you look at what transactional relationship, every relationship is transactional. I came here because I have something to say, and you have a platform. Now, when we look at it that way, you realize it's a give and take. Now, we are not being selfish. It's just a win-win thing. If you look at businesses, you're going into it because you want to make profit. And if you do not see value in whoever you're having exchanges with, you will not get into it. It is as straightforward.
Yeah.
Then we go into the relationship bit, right?
Yeah.
Again, what is it that you have that I need? And what is it that I have that you need? And so I think that the term transactionary or exchanges is a bit demonized. And that's why I said I want to give context to it.
Okay.
Because every relationship is transactional. If we look at it in strict terms, yeah, it is transactional. And it could be whatever it is. Now, I think that the angle in which you want us to talk on is more of the monetization of relationships. That's what I think you want us to look.
Yeah.
So everything is all about money now, material. Monetization or materialization of it.
Yep. Then since you say you want us to contextualize it, when we talk of transaction, the first thing that comes to our mind is money. But I'm also coming from the prism where we grew up knowing this whole concept of Romeo and Juliet dying for one another. Love is blind, love is this and that and that. So that is the prism from where, just right on.
Okay, so let me leave that for Dr. Ambe to talk about, but let me talk about this Romeo and Juliet thingy.
Yes.
And maybe we have different views on this topic, okay, just maybe.
Yeah. But
like I said, I want to give context to it.
Yeah.
This Romeo and Juliet idea is a farce. That thing about love we're talking about, I think it's a scam, it's not real. I am of the school of thought that whatever relationship you're getting into, it should be transactional. And I mean this, that you should know what it is you need and go after it when you see it. Now, this is not limited to money. It is, again, about values and our value system. You think about it like that. Now, the problem is, when we go with this Romeo and Juliet sort of idea, it becomes a farce. Why? Because that is the only time when you hear people are in love, the erotic kind of love, that is the only time they do not use their minds and their brains to think. See, these things are real. This is real life. Marriage is real life. It's real school. You cannot consciously get into a relationship without expecting something from the other person. Even our relationship with God, in the real sense of it, is transactional because God expects us to worship him. He still seeks that from us. You see what I mean? And then we are expecting all of what we're expecting. But then, like I said, it is because we have now monetized every other thing. That Romeo and Juliet sort of idea, it is not real. Why? Because when you get into a relationship, it is to build each other. This idea of what you bring to the table, the contextual side of it is, in my own context anyways, is when I come into a relationship, two should be better than one. Why should two be better than one? Because there's something you're coming with that I don't have, or I don't have as much, that I would benefit from it. There's something I'm bringing that you two should benefit from it. So no, but if we limit it now to only about money, how much money you have, how much you can give, if you do not give me money, I will not do this. That's where we have an issue. But I was saying the other day on social media, it is only people in love who don't use their brains. Now, what do I mean by that? I've had a plethora of relationship cases brought to me on social media. And the common denominator of the stupidity that is exuded by every person who brings that is I still love him. Mr. Kum, you must have seen that. I'm with a guy who is beating me up, and he's done that so many times. I have a black eye. I'm hiding it from my family. But the thing is that I still love him. That's the Romeo and Juliet kind of love we're talking about. I'm with a woman who is disrespectful. She's mean, and she's all of that. But I don't know how I can do without her. Please, Mommy Deli, advise me. That's why I say, if we look at the fact that if we demonize the transactionary aspect of relationships as a whole, we will be doing ourselves a disservice, because love should be with open eyes. You should be able to say that I am with this man because of the values that he comes with, not just because, oh, this man he's the talk of the town. How is that going to help you as a woman build yourself? I am with this woman because she's the most pretty woman, and men are running after her. Where is the help aspect that is expected of her? She is beautiful, but very disrespectful, and she cannot submit in marriage. And then you don't see that is a transactionary aspect you're after. There's no man listening to me that just wants to get married to a woman without expecting something from her end. So that's why I said I want to take a different tangent from these transactionary, again, still to pass on a message that is a lot of illusion out there with the young stars. And that's the reason why marriages are breaking. Why? Because ask yourself, why are you getting married to the person you're getting married to? Well, it's just money. Well, they don't really know. Well, no, but there should be a reason why you love somebody. There's no how you don't have a reason. There should be a reason, and that reason should be a function of your value systems. So that's the angle I want to touch on. Just so because we are mixing terms. I think we're mixing these terms, and then it's really not giving a proper context to what we are meant to be saying. But I get it. From what Dr. Ambe has said, again, it comes back to the monetization of relationships nowadays. Yeah.
Yes, but then what you're saying is it's like a lecture in the amphitheater. When you look at the Cameroonian lady, majority of your sisters back here, or I don't know, across the world, what do they bring? If we were to go by your context, what do they actually bring into relationships? Your sisters who are in the university and across the cities in Douala, Boya, Yaoundé, you know the lives they live back here. They look very rich. They live in very big houses. They want to drive very large cars. What are they bringing into relationships, living such lifestyles?
Or maybe what are they doing that is giving them the pleasure of living lavish lifestyles like that? I mean, they're doing all of what they're not meant to be doing. Because if you look at how, I mean, what's the minimum wage in Cameroon? Average minimum wage in Cameroon. I don't know the minimum wage in Cameroon, but I don't think it's up to 100,000 francs CFA. Now think about it. You see a young woman, her hair is 450,000 francs. Her handbag is designers, which is, of course, nothing less than 100,000 francs. And even those ones are the vrai faux, meaning that it is really not the original. There's a car she's driving that is actually one of the latest. And even if it's not the latest, even if it's just a car, just to fuel a car, even if it's the worst car on earth, it's very demanding. Her makeup, every other thing, you put that together. You see a woman would stand, and if you have to calculate everything she has on, it is more than somebody's salary for 3 years, without exaggeration. Now you start asking yourself, is it just the normal teachers grade 1 that we all graduated from, or higher economy, or even if it's a NAM, is it just that is giving you this lavish lifestyle you're talking about? That's why you see I kept insisting, let us zoom on monetization of relationships nowadays. Then it is very telling. I say, what is a young woman who is in the university doing with designer bags? What are you doing with that? Now, the standard of living has so been increased, and especially with what these young women are seeing opinion leaders or those stakeholders do, especially on TV or in the media. And I think that's how it's meant to be. So it's hard for a young girl right now to live within her means. Now she either has to have a sugar daddy or two. Now one sugar daddy is not enough. So just so we know, at least 2 or 3 sugar daddies, because sugar daddies have become wise now. They're not gonna give you 1 million when women are all over the place and they can give 10,000 to 3 different women and still have them. Because these women are very much available. Sugar daddies have also, they're not paying as they used to pay. Now you need to have at least 5 of them to really live that standard. Are you trying to tell me is the salary that we know in Cameroon that is giving you all of that? So it's very telling. That's why I said the women we've turned to a generation where everything is about money. We've monetized ourselves. It's everything. We have to see it in the vein of money. We cannot be in a relationship where, and this money we're talking about is not just the average. Again, like I said, minimum wage. It's not. A man has to really earn, and this is pushing a lot of young guys. On the other hand, for you to be able to afford that, you see a woman who has a wig of 1 million francs on her hair. It tells you to be with that kind of woman, you have to maintain that standard. She's not coming down for you. No, you have to maintain the standard. And you, as a young man, you are attracted to that. Your salary will not foot that. Now you tell me, you would have to get into all the scamming out there to get extra money to meet her standard of living. Now, this is what is happening in relationships that I think it has so been monetized. And that's where I want to hit hard on, rather than just, limiting it to transactional relationships. Otherwise, to me, anyways, it's not going to really do justice to the topic. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Deli. She says we should rather look at it from the monetization perspective, and not transactional, because almost everybody is transacting. We consider, even if you are going out with a girl who may not be rich, but she has other things that she may be offering in different ways, and in exchange, you are in love with her. But when you look at what is happening today, why is money dominant factor in settling down for a relationship? Though she says that they're not even settling for one, they settle for 1, 2, 3.
I think we are drifting from the subject matter.
Okay.
Because the subject matter here is, I'm sure that transaction has to do with exchange.
Yes.
Money. It has to do with money.
Mm-hmm.
Why are ladies into relationship? Because of money. Because
increasingly,
people don't enter into relationships again for something else apart from money.
Okay.
Because we hear a statement like Regina Daniels to make a statement like, love is important, money is important. That's a word that she created. We are using today. Money is important. What will make a young girl like Regina Daniels leave a young guy like Somandina Adimna to go and get married to an old man like Ned Nwoko, if not money?
Maybe she saw some qualities in.
What qualities are you talking about, Mr. Leo? You and I know very well that Somandina Adina is a very young. I mean, the problem is, do girls really get married today or enter into a relationship to build a relationship with somebody? Because what we are talking about falling in love is building from scratch with somebody. Every rich woman you see today living with a rich man, they started from somewhere. But I'm telling you that ladies want a ready-made man. This is what we are talking about here. We're not talking about just a Romeo and Juliet kind of love. We are talking about the relationship where a woman can accept you from that scratch, both of you build. Would you want to tell me that Fosso Victor's wife met him when he was rich? No, they started from scratch. Do you want to tell me that Kaji the Fosso's wife met him when he was rich? No, we are talking about that primitive love, that you can accept a man for who he is, not knowing what he will turn out to become tomorrow. That both of you start from that scratch and start building a family. Tomorrow we are sitting upon a wealth and eating without any form of fear or intimidation, with the confidence that your sweat is also part of this wealth. Not the ready-made wealth that a girl will want to ascertain you when you've made it already before she steps into a relationship. That's what we are talking about. Those women who accepted to get married to those men at that their broke stage of life were offering equally their bodies. If it is a body we are talking about that they are offering to, it has to do with what women also offer their bodies. Some of them even offer their education. Some of them sacrificed a lot of things by leaving their families to accept these men when they had nothing. Do we still have such relationships today that a young girl would choose to accept a young man for who he is, and then thinking of building a family together, and then both of them grow to become the big names you hear today or tomorrow? No. A girl will just want a ready-made man. What will cause a young, I'm using as an anecdote, that a girl of that age will not accept a young man like Somandina who has a promising future, for them to build a relationship together. I'm sure this is on the platform. It's on this platform we are trying to talk about. We're not talking about you just fall in love fully with somebody and then you're not dreaming of anything else. We are talking about people starting, like our wives who accepted us when we had nothing because they saw a future. So tomorrow, if my wife becomes the first lady, is it because she saw me as a president, or she saw me as a popular public figure before she accepted me? My wife accepted me when I had no name, I had no cover, I had no bed. Today she sits in front of my car and I'm driving. You want to talk to her anyhow? No, there's no way. She accepted me for who I am. And now I have grown to become something. I'm sure this is where our argument is based. Now, if we say it is transactional, it is because these girls of this 21st century will not want to accept a man who will start building with them from scratch. They will want to find a ready-made man who has 60 million in an account, who is driving a Rolls-Royce Corina, who has a G-Wagon, and he has constructed a building, and then, okay, they just want to walk into that affluence without any form of sweat. You are more of a housemate in that kind of a house, because you are not a contributor to the growth of that wealth. You are not a contributor to the rising of that particular individual. You are just like somebody who has come to reap from where you did not sow. So this transactional relationship is the one we are talking about, is the one that young girls will choose to get married to a man who is 70 years old, as to getting married to a young boy who is about 25 years old, for them to build together. So the relationship in this 21st century, we are laying emphasis that it is transactional because women don't want to build from scratch anymore with anybody. They want to just jump into ready-made program, affluence, and wealth for them to enjoy. And that is why we say it is transactional, because the interest in the relationship has nothing to do with the man. Because if you are interested in somebody, you'll be interested in his growth, you'll be interested in his rising, you will do everything possible within your power to push him to rise. Not that you look at a man who's already established and then you are walking into his life in the name of relationship. It means your interest is what the man has worked for. And I think such women don't have respect as compared to women who work with men from nothing. As a matter of fact, my wife and I can have misunderstanding, but there is no way I can think of sending her away, because she's part of who I have become. I owe her that respect, owe her that honor.
Okay. It's part of who you have become. Today we have 5 more minutes to discuss on this topic before we settle with the last topic for tonight. Delhi, you just listened to him there, but is it possible to change this mindset where ladies come back to the considerations that were taken by our mothers before they settled down with our parents, or is there any way they could moderate in their consideration for what either a man or a woman should give before they agree into engaging a relationship?
Again, like I said, so when doctor is speaking, I'm laughing, and because again, I think this we are not differing. I don't differ with him. I dare not. I think, like I said, I'd like to put mine into context just so that, because again, I will be doing myself a disservice if I handle this topic strictly based on that transactional term. I mean, for me, anyways, that's why I'm insisting on the fact that I would love to use the term monetization of relationships. Doctor has just said that he met the wife when the wife had nothing. You had something. You had value. Your wife saw that there's potential in you. Saw maybe a good character in you. Saw a man in purpose. Saw a man who had a future, not the money. And that's why, as much as I would say that was still a transactional relationship, it was not monetized. That's why in my opinion, I think the monetization aspect is what we're talking about. And I get all the examples you've given, and that's what we're talking about. So I'm saying that if I limit this to just one side, it's going to be one-sided, because it takes a two. You think about it. somebody like Dr. Mbe is a man of integrity. He talks about his wife because we know, of course, these things are real. We've seen that happen. There's a lot of men out there, because when we limit it to how should the women do to reduce the way they look at money, the men out there who are willing to keep giving this money, I think that we should hit hard on these men as well at this juncture, because you would see a man has suffered with the wife, they started from scratch, but when money starts coming, this man has about 3 or 4 women out there, or 10 or 20, and he's the one feeding, actually promoting this lifestyle. There's a young guy out there managing life with a girlfriend. There's a sugar daddy that will just drive around university with a car that is to kill, and then promises this girl heaven and earth. We know the kind of backgrounds that most of us come from. It is going to take a woman who is grounded in her values and her principles to deny a kind of money that is coming from a rich guy. So it takes two to play this game. Regina Daniels was there, but it took a Ned Nwoko to insist on, come and show you affluence, show you a park that I own, show you fleet of cars. It's going to take a woman who is grounded, knows where she's going to, has a source of livelihood for herself, believes in her future, and values the man she is in a relationship, to not fall for that. So if we limit it to just young girls, we would be doing so much injustice to the topic. That's why I don't want to look at it from that angle. I'm like, you know what? If there's lots of sugar daddies out there who are just laughing at us right now, like, I'm willing to give, I want to take that woman, I'll just give 300,000, 5 million, and trust me, they are going to come patronize my room. So yeah, I think this conversation should continue in our next sit down.
Okay, definitely we're going to continue this conversation because it is important. Good evening, Mr. Leo and Apostle Ambe in the studio. I love this program. K. Boomer Michael is writing from mile 14. In Limbe, okay, Ashun Tantang is writing from Limbe, says, Leo, women always think of what they would benefit before going into relationships. That is why it is difficult for a girl to marry a broke man. Love doesn't exist as far as a woman of today is concerned. The love of a woman is directly proportional to the man's capacity of wealth. Once the wealth disappears, the man becomes a toy in the eyes of the woman. Relationships are now transactional because of the mind set of both the man and the woman. This never happened in the days of our forefathers. Okay? I think one of your panelists is getting it all wrong. Relationship starts with love. I have seen a man getting married to a lady who is broken, and he makes her become something. The guy was not expecting something from her before he got married to her. Good evening to you guys in the studio. I'm Ella, watching from Bamenda. I'm enjoying your program a whole lot. My special regards to Delhi, my role model. Okay? Good evening, Mr. Leo. I can tell you that because we do not want to develop what we have, we are like blaming the colonial masters. Nobody has forced us to follow them. I personally admire my unique nature as an individual, but it's like everyone should follow the traditional way. Even people you think are educated will be like, what do this one want to be? Everyone likes the habit of follow the crowd. And not only that, it's like we hate one another. We hate one who can create. One, okay, not too clear what you've written. Develop or grow in our own. Developing the good cultural values while neglecting what is not good to prove we are growing. I stay in the village, but I have made many to know I can choose what is good. You can as well know certain things in your own culture that do not permit growth or health. Witchcraft is more in rural areas than urban because it was of old. God has given us freedom that our cultures need improvement. Thank you. Good evening to the entire panel. IQ with Delhi's as far as wedding is concerned. We don't portray our own way of marriage and copy and rather showcase church in court sessions as lost sheep. Afani Fu Divine is writing from Yaoundé. Good evening, Mr. Kum. I'm Smith watching from Dubai. It is a very educative program. We are left with just 25 minutes, so we dive straight to the last aspect of this program. Dr. Apostle Ambe, you may still have to wait. Oh, no. You can better appreciate. What has been, according to you, the net impact of female influencers out there on young girls?
It's been 90% negative and 10% positive.
Okay.
And 10% positive because the few female influencers that affect the lives of the girl child positively are very few. I want to believe that the singer, without any special praises to her, is one of the female influencers that affect the lives of female young girls, I beg your pardon, young girls positively, because I have followed her for some time. Me and Deli never met on social media. Me and Deli met when a girl was trapped in the hand of a prophet in Bamenda, and this prophet had instilled fear in the heart of this young girl. And then I saw a strange number wrote to me, please, I want you to help me handle this case. So I spoke with her. She said she's Deli singer, and then from there she linked me to the lady whom I was able to remove the girl from the hand of that prophet, and then brought the girl to Douala, took a photograph, and then sent to Delhi that the job has been done. That was the day Delhi and I became friends. And from that act alone, my mentality, my perspective about influencers in general changed, because I knew it's just a bunch of girls who are out there to expose their body, to sell very negative things, like this girl in Nigeria they call Houre, who sells, very nasty videos, and all other female influencers that come on air to project all kinds of nasty stories. I can tell you that Delhi has been a very strong influence positively on the social media space. I think that's the reason why most responsible young men and women are attracted to her. But to the best of my understanding, our children are corrupted because of the kind of content they consume on social media from a lot of these influencers. And I can tell you, people are just in need of money, in need of followership, in need of likes, and in need of shares, because they want to make some money from YouTube and Facebook and the rest. They will post any kind of nasty thing. There are ladies who are standing on social media saying that Toto for sale, very sweet Toto. All those things put together, children who are browsing social media every day are intoxicated with a lot of negative information, negative vibes. My impression about social media influencers was very negative until I came across a few of them who have been very, very constructive and very, very positive in their presentation. I stumbled across CY International also, who have been fighting the 80-20. That's also one person I admire on social media, and a few other persons which I have been closely observing, and I can tell you that the negative impact is higher than the positive impact.
Okay. Delhi, I will have to look at two aspects when we talk about influencers, especially for you guys, the ladies. We have some persons think that unrealistic beauty standards that you guys showcase out there. Some influencers promote edited images, excessive cosmetic procedures, and unattainable lifestyles, leading to self-esteem issues among young girls. The second one has to do with materialism and fake lifestyle pressures. Many influencers showcase luxury brands, extravagant trips, and high-spending lifestyle, creating unrealistic expectations for young girls. How true, false are these assertions?
It is very true, and I'm happy that we get to talk about it. Maybe time would fail us to do justice to the topic. I really do want to appreciate Dr. Mbe for the kind words. To get an endorsement from a personality like him, it's everything. Thank you so much, my presidential candidate. So talking about this influencing thing, it's sad. Sometimes I feel bad because, again, it is in my sphere of influence. It is actually what I do in the media. And when we talk about it and it's been demonized like it's been demonized, I understand why it has been demonized. If you look at what we celebrate in Cameroon or in the media, look at the people with thousands of views. What are they projecting? Cleavages, unclad women, cosmetic procedures, like you've listed, unrealistic wealth from the work we're doing. I say I've been an influencer, and a very fine one at that, for a long time. And I know how money is made on social media. But when I see all the lifestyle that is projected in a bid to paint social media as a portal that gives that kind of money, I just laugh, and I'm like, this is the deception that we have been is being sold to us on a regular. Sadly, the young girls are copying that, because according to them, that's the way forward. Get on these particular platforms, listen to the women speak. You would hide yourself in shame. The values they are promoting, their lifestyles, and you're asking, it's not adding up. But then they keep doing this. You would see somebody has followers, and they've just had one deal, and you and I know, because I have loads of deals, you and I know there's hardly much that is coming from there. And this person has the latest car out there, and it's claiming to us that it's part of that deal. What the young stars are doing is they're looking at these things and saying, I want to abandon my purpose, abandon even school, and be a content creator on social media, because that's the thing right now. I like to look at it as well from the point of the lack of jobs that is there, but then it's going to not do service to this conversation. So let's focus on this particular angle. Everybody wants to be a content creator now, not because it's a purpose or a calling, but because, again, the monetization of every other thing out there, I will make some money from it. And the sad part of it is a lot of famous persons, you know what it is to get fame, because it is not just about being famous. It is more difficult to maintain your fame. Yeah. And to maintain that fame would require you putting your hands into this and that, having at least 5 sugar daddies to sponsor your lifestyle, which a lot of the influencers are not telling you. So I am here categorically as an influencer, and one of the biggest that I know as far as the Cameroon 237 showbiz space or blogosphere is concerned, that the money we are talking about, more than 90% of it is actually from other sources that we are just smuggling into showbiz and claiming that we are having this money from it. And if you would want to leave your businesses and your purpose and every other thing that would give value to you, and so you're running to social media to become a nuisance, because for the most part it is nuisances that are littered all over social media in the name of influencers. If you would want to do that, then please, you want to have a second to think about, to have a rethink on that. So yeah, that's the most I would tell young girls and boys as well, because it's all around.
What I get from this is the fact that as an influencer, the tendency is to also showcase a lifestyle that accordingly should be seen as a model worth copying. But when you live, I don't know how you live your life, Delhi, but most of you guys drive big cars. You're always in planes, doing very expensive trips, living in large hotels, and seen by so many young girls as models. They want to be like you. What do you do actually to justify living such a lifestyle? And how do you get the young girls to understand how you make such amounts of money?
That's what I say. I can only speak for myself.
No, but
I don't put out material things in the media.
Are you saying
why? Because again, I am conscious. Yeah, I'm getting.
I was asking whether you don't have.
I don't put in on material.
Go on.
Sorry.
Go on. Just go on.
Right. I was saying that one of my principles is I don't put on material things in the media like that, because I'm conscious of the pressure that it gives to the young stars. I am very conscious of that. Okay. Now, and the lifestyle you've just said, I at least I can toot my horn that I don't live that kind of lifestyle. This is not anything. I can say that. And so now, but I understand where you're coming from. And this is actually what is projected. Now, when you ask, what do? Most of them will tell you that they have businesses. What kind of business are you doing? Now, most of this, for these businesses, we do not really see them. What kind of, there's nobody, Mr. Liu, that earns money, goes out there, sweats to earn money, and throws it out like that. When you see people living lavish lifestyle, it tells you that it justifies the means. It is easy gotten money. It's as simple as that. To travel to Barbados, how much is a flight? Usually we see these influencers first class, business class. How much is a business class? How much does your business make in a month to be able to afford that lifestyle that you do on a regular, on a steady? I mean, it's very telling. I've just summarized it. When you see people throw money anyhow, live lavishly, and you cannot justify the means, like it's not very obvious. I mean, it is very obvious. So I won't get into the in and out of that. I think, and like I always say, a lot of the lifestyles you see out there, majority of you young boys and young girls listening, you are far better than most celebrities you see. You don't believe this because I'm saying that, but you're far better. Why? Because you've not sold your soul for these things. You're still living, you're still working hard, you can still justify the means of your income. If you see what celebrities would do, the number of men some women would have to sleep with. I say this on national TV, and I'm happy I have a platform to speak, and I know my voice will echo louder. If you know the number of men some women will have to sleep with to have fame, not even to talk of money, the things people have to, the values people have to compromise out there just to belong. If you know the kind of things they are subjected to, we've heard of influencers traveling to Dubai and the rest or other countries to eat pool. And when they come there, they buy these things and you think it is social media, you're joking. If you know how better your lives are, you still have your sanity intact. Some people are under the influence of drugs. They would have to inject themselves for them to sleep properly at night. You don't want to get yourself into that. I always say be steady. Focus on your purpose. And if you have a job you're doing, be diligent at it. If you're paid a salary, manage it properly, one day at a time, and you should keep growing. One of the things this generation has taken off from the process is the process of growth. That young girls and young boys don't know that it takes time. Growth is a function of time. There's no how you would have an overnight success and it does not drain you the very next day. Be steady at what you're doing. If you are employed somewhere, focus on that. Be diligent. Go to work early and follow the rules of the institution. One day at a time, you are going to get there. But as you're working, you are looking at the things you have to do. Have goals. Start, equipping yourself with other virtues. And at the end of the day, the end will justify the means. God in the equation would increase the harvest for you. The problem is that you want to leave class 1 and somehow get to university without going through the usual that everybody understands. And I understand that there is promotion and all of that, but promotion again would come with the work that has been put. Mr. Kum is promoted wherever he is, not as a beginner, but as somebody that we have seen for years, putting the hard work, and of course, he's now reaping the fruits of his labor. So please, be careful what you follow on social media and the people you model your lives after. I can talk all day, but I think this is the most I would say.
Thank you, Deli. Good evening, Mr. Leo. I'm Sevidzem Lawrence, watching from Kumbu. I'm really enjoying the program and taking notes. I have seen Shaggy in the relationship of a thing. Not I'm single, and there is peace in my heart since I stopped being a nice guy, spending on girls in the name of trying to make my relationship work. Okay. Good evening, sir. Etomi Silas, Edu son from Susa. All I have to say about relationship nowadays is that there is not lady that loves you without anything like money. A lady can never be in love with you once you don't have money. Because I have one of my girlfriends say even relationship with God needs money. So, my brother, to find a perfect woman nowadays is not easy. Mr. Liu, good evening. I find it difficult to get married because there are beliefs love is a scam. That is why some of us remain single for the rest of their lives, and they say like that because they say love can't put food on the table. The program is very interesting. Thank you. This one says, a very interesting program. Greetings to Dr. and our mommy Delhi singer. Simon is writing from Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Kum. I'm so impressed with this program tonight. Greet our guest for tonight. Okay. Now, what when you put up this very expensive, organized, successful lifestyle as an influencer, how do you want to teach the younger?
As a matter of fact,
Because you are an influencer. An influencer is supposed to, it's like
influence
an opinion.
people,
Yes.
give people direction now. Yeah, an influencer from your title, you give people direction.
You want to give them a picture, but how do you put them through the stages so that they can get to?
What are you influencing them towards? An influencer, what are you influencing them towards? Your content is directing people towards a particular direction. Are you making children become impatient? Or are you making them become patient? Are you selling a life of making it now, or a life of making it progressively? Are you selling an image that can educate the children become better tomorrow in the society, or you are making them become desperate to become successful within the flash of light? This is where we have a problem. And as a matter of fact, we live in a jet age where influencers have a very pivotal role in directing the lives of the younger generation, because almost 90% of the youth are on social media. Most of them follow these influencers as their role models. Without even knowing them, they follow them from a distance. And these guys produce content almost every day. And some people shape their life based on the content they go through on social media. So there are children today who have been directed by influencers to become naked in the public, because we see a lot of nasty videos of young girls who are trying to cash clouds, as they say it. They are trying to influence people to follow their page, to give them some kind of likes and comments. They do a lot of things, and people know that when it comes to sexual videos, people get attracted to, because the world is so polluted in such a way that people like only nasty things. So the thing that can easily attract people towards your page is exposing your body, or posting sexual content, or posting immoral content or pornography. So most young girls also have copied that thing, and the impression that probably if you have this number of followers, you will start making this amount of money. If you have a number of likes and views, you're going to have this kind of money. I'm so glad, because somebody who has a mastery of this terrain, the lead singer, is giving us a proper understanding that the amount of money these guys project on social media is not actually what they make. Because you see a girl who is riding G-Wagon, and they will tell you that it is YouTube that paid her. You will see a young man who has about 6 different cars, and they will tell you that. You begin to ask questions if your own data is wasted. You ask yourself if your own phone does not produce money. Some will tell that most of you are being paid on TikTok, but you don't know. When you see a plus on your TikTok, and then they will tell, I'm asking questions that even these guys who are abroad, who keep telling you that there is free visa to this country, if actually they were making money in that country where they were, are they going to be are they going to be looking money from those who are in Africa to make them travel abroad? Because these are some of the questions I ask. You will hear somebody say, get to my inbox, DM me, I will tell you the process on how to get admission in Luxembourg, admission in Spain, admission in Austria, this and that. I mean, actually, if you were making the money as you thought, why would you be on social media to grab even the little that people from Africa are trying to assemble by selling granules and selling pear and selling and other very cheap things in Africa here? People are so caught up with the social media to the extent that, as a matter of fact, everyone who wants to get the most recent thing that is happening around the world, they go on social media. And a lot of flashy things on social media, people post vehicles, somebody can even go and borrow an attire, dress very well, come on social media, somebody can even lean on a car, take a photograph. As a matter of fact, people even produce content with to that respect, because most people sometimes go and sit beside or take pictures close to vehicles and then later on post on social media. You may look at somebody and say, wow, is it only this content creating that you guys are doing that is making them make money like that? As a matter of fact, some people even take time to I mean, exaggerate the wealth of some of these artists. The 10 richest influencers in Nigeria, Brain Jotta, he's worth $3.5 million. Massa. If this guy can have $3.5 million in his account, then it is possible for me to drop out of school and then enter into social media influencing. So I think it's very important. It's a good business. But is that really true? That's not the truth. Do you know how many persons are on that YouTube space, the Instagram space, the Facebook space, who are looking for followers, who are also posting content every day? Ha! As a matter of fact, most of our content in this Africa are not even monetized. Facebook is not monetized in Cameroon. So they will tell you that a Cameroonian influencer is making $3 million from. Where did he get the money from? Because their countries are that their social media space is monetized. As in Cameroon, most of the things are not monetized. Somebody in Europe can say it and then you can accept it. But those of us in Africa, I wonder how you would tell others somebody in Cameroon is making $1 million from Facebook.
Okay. Delhi, unfortunately, we have very short time to be together, and we have so much I wanted us to talk about. We may have to reschedule to continue this discussion. But now, what I got is influence of harmful trends. Some influencers promote harmful behaviors like unhealthy weight loss, methods, excessive consumerism, even toxic relationships. Others are sexual and sexualization. The overemphasis on appearance and sex appeal in influencer culture can make young girls believe that their worth is tied to their looks rather than their intelligence or skills. Do you agree with that, Delhi?
Absolutely, absolutely. Again, it boils down to monetization of our bodies. You would see a woman would sometimes I think we say these things all the time, and I'm hoping that the young ones are listening. And again, it's not just the women, it's the men as well, because this influencing thing and the culture of content creation is both genders. So yeah, I have to insist on that. You have to do that because it's your selling point. See, let me give this formula, this a way you can look at life, all right? It's very easy, and it's going to be very telling. When you look at every woman, look at the aspect that they tend to put in more time and investment into. That's their business. I pride myself in my brain being my business. That's why I would research. That's why I would talk. That's why I put on these values. Look at a woman who clads herself in dollars. That's her business. So make no mistakes. They're not cladding like that to just impress you. Of course, to impress clients. What do you think that is for? It's a business. It's a business strategy. I need us to understand this. So when you see, why would a beautiful woman, actually well-formed, go in for cosmetic procedures? Because they want to accentuate all of that, because that is their business. Don't you think? This is the problem. So when you see people like that, understand. Dr. Ambe said something. The amplification of figures on social media by influencers. I remember one time I saw somebody wrote an article about me on Google, and literally said that my net worth is about some ridiculous amount of money in dollars. And I had to debunk that immediately. And as at that time, I could not even feed myself. I'm not exaggerating. Now you think about it. This is what was happening out there. Now, the next person around me, just like Dr. Amber said, see, if there was this money out there, every other person would be on social media, building houses. There's influencers and celebrities that you know and you live around them. Some of them borrow money from you to sustain their lifestyles. I mean, Mr. Leo, we will go on and on with this conversation, and I mean, I think we have belabored the point. And
yeah, but what should influencers be doing to help these young girls?
sometimes I think it's already too late for them, but
Okay.
then it's never too late to retrace your steps, right? They should be teaching our values, the value systems, African value, African culture, the things that they should be teaching them how to be economically relevant. Dr. Edith Delight, I salute her. She has her ladies in the boardroom, I think tomorrow. That's the kind of influence we expect from those influencers. How to make young women be productive at their prime, know what to do, take a small business and make it big and grow in that business. Teach them values, teach them character. That's what you should be doing. You see a lot of beautiful women with zero character. Teach them, educate them, increase their mental capacity. You would see a young girl, when she opens her mouth to speak, you just want her to close her mouth because that's the only time she's beautiful. You see a young guy out there, all his mind is centered on is how to get a laptop and start seeing how to take what, that's how they put it, how to take what the white man took from us. That's their mindset. And how do you help these kind of people? By first of all being the example. It starts with us as the influencers to say either we are retracing ourselves or we are reinforcing the values that we are teaching, you see. And before long, these children will start seeing the positive side of it. And equally to encourage the few who are still sane. Platforms that are teaching right values are not endorsed. You would see big companies would give to the women. You would see a company as a bank would endorse an influencer that is 9 out of 10 times unclad on social media. Why? Because they have the numbers. And then you are covering yourself and you're promoting these values and you're expecting that a bank would patronize your services. No, they're looking for that other lady. Why would the rest of us not walk naked on social media? It goes again back to the community and the people you patronize. Because when you are endorsing them, it's giving them the leeway to fly. You see what I mean? So, Mr. Kum, we will talk about this all day. But like I said, it starts from us as the influencers to be sure. I always say, and this is a principle I live by, if I'm not going to teach Jesus boy is my son, if I'm not going to teach him that, if I'm not going to want to see him exude those qualities, I am not going to teach another person's child. One of the things is that it's easy to sit behind our keyboards and influence. After all, we don't know these people. They might as well jump into the lagoon for all we care. As long as they are making us have money, we might as well sell any product to them. And that's the thing. Because why? We really do not care. We're not bothered about the outcome of our actions. And so because of that, money comes from it. We destroy. It's a lot of destinies that influencers have destroyed. They've killed young dreams and talents because, according to them, they want to make money. Money is not everything. I understand everything has a price, but like I said, growth is still something that we should start looking at, and the process of it, and time is such a determinant factor of it. So please, the pressure, don't be pressured with what you see in the media. You are far better than most of these celebrities.
Okay, thank you. One last word to our young people as they follow those they consider as influencers, especially on social media.
The most deceptive place you can ever learn from is the social media. It is important that you get in contact with persons that you admire on social media. They will share with you their values. But a lot of the stories you see on social media are just content created for people to generate their income. And also people also sell negative or false images about themselves on social media. You want to watch a Nigerian wedding on social media and feel like you never wedded. You want to watch incidents of funeral programs in Nigeria and feel like you never buried your mother properly. You want to watch some people dress on social media and feel like you never had the opportunity to dress in life. So please, the social media is a world full of fantasies. The social media is a place where the good, the bad, and the ugly exist. But I think the bad exists the most than the good and the ugly. And I want to advise any other person who is watching this program today, take everything you see on social media with a pinch of salt. A lot of figures are inflated on social media. a lot of things are magnified on social media, which if you want to go and see the reality of those things, they practically are not what you saw on social media. Live a life of simplicity, build yourself. If you come across a mentor, a role model on social media you admire, try to get in touch with them physically or probably online for them to give you the values they share and they hold on to, rather than just dreaming and looking at social media thinking that you can build a life out of it. Most of those persons who go on social media trying to project themselves, they are not actually what they sell on social media. Meet people one-on-one, you'll be able to, you'll be surprised to see what you see on ground is different from what you see on social media. So we encourage young people to be real and be real to yourselves.
Okay, be real and be real to yourself. Deli Singer, thank you for accepting to be part of tonight's edition of Prime Hour. Just to know that she is one of Cameroon's biggest influencer living out there in the UK, and also an author of 2 books.
Thank you so much, Mr. Leo. I mean, it's been a while. It's been a minute I got on here. I'm so happy that, again, I have this platform to talk to, especially my delicious. I know there are loads of them who are watching. I need to have a screenshot from you on social media. Get this screenshot and let's get more persons to watch this show. I want to appreciate my presidential candidate. I keep insisting. Now, I talk about values, integrity, content of character, people who have track record of influence, and you know, people who are educated, people who have the interest of the people at heart. I'm not endorsing him as a presidential candidate. I'm just saying you do the maths and you tell yourself, I am going to vote for the right person that is deserving of my vote. And so this is a clarion call to the rest of you watching me to go get your voters' cards. I insist. We have to make a change in our nation. It starts with us, the youth. We constitute the greater part of the population. If we decide to do it, we will do it. And the false narrative of, oh, there's no change that can come from the ballot box, it is because you have told yourself that. And the regime keeps insisting on that narrative, and you cannot fault what you were not part of the change. So I'm calling upon every well-meaning Cameroonian to go out there and cast your votes. But first of all, get your voters card and do yourself some justice. Thank you so much, Mr. Kum, and I'm looking forward to another sit down with you. God bless us all.
Okay, thank you very much, Deli. Tata Vitalis is watching us from Bomenda and enjoying the honesty and realities in your discussions. Marka Mavis is watching from Bomenda for photos. He's watching from Efulan. Jean-Chris Christian is watching from Bomenda 3. Ginny Vicky is watching from Bomenda. And Fru Kenneth is watching from Bomenda. And Gila Bertrand is watching from Balmayo. Folland Constance is watching from Kumbu. Thank you for coming, Dr. Apostle.
Thank you, Mr. Leo. Thank you, Cameroonians, for this wonderful program. Thank you, Deli. I repeat, that's our Minister of Women Affairs in my government. And any government that does not see Deli as a minister in its tenure will be doing a disservice to this nation. That woman has a lot to offer the women of this nation and Africa at large. So let's make sure we exploit the potential she has. God bless you, Cameroonians and Africans, for being part of today's program. Thank you, Mr. Leo. You are a beam of hope to Cameroonians. When we look at the media space, we know there is life ahead. Okay,
thank you very much. And some persons are asking for the name of your party. I hope we create time tomorrow to talk again about your declared presidential ambitions. And tomorrow, Dr. Apostle Ambe is going to be here for an hour to discuss with us and also tell us why he thinks that he needs to fix some things in this country. Thank you to you, Eli and Desmond, for production. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.